you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to LaFleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Monday, March 17. The Montreal Canadiens off tonight, but guess what? They were home watching the Columbus Blue Jackets versus the New Jersey Devils. Well, at least some of them were. Some of them, others were having a nice meal at a very popular Montreal Greek restaurant. We'll get to that in just a little bit later. Marinaro, Brian Wilde will join me tonight. This is a big one. Once again, the Canadiens were watching tonight. They were watching the Columbus Blue Jackets, who going into tonight's game were 1 point behind the Montreal Canadiens, as the Canadiens trail, of course, the New York Rangers and the Ottawa Senators for a wild card spot. The Canadiens will host the Ottawa Senators tomorrow. But the Canadiens were crossing their fingers and hoping that the Columbus Blue Jackets were going to lose. And who did the Columbus Blue Jackets go up against? Well, they played host to the New Jersey Devils. And the Columbus Blue Jackets outshot the New Jersey Devils 46-20. And guess who was in goal for the New Jersey Devils? Jake Allen. He made 45 saves on the night, including 23 in period number 3. Jake Allen does the Montreal Canadiens and their fan base a huge favor. He steals a game in Columbus. The Devils win by a score of 2-1. We'll get to that a little bit later as well. First and foremost, though, Playground, giving away over $135 in cash prizes this month at their cash game poker tables, 7 days a week, 5 nights a week. Go and play anytime from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Enjoy the late night games from 9:30 p.m. to 2 a.m. for a chance to win. Payouts every 30 minutes. Get in on the action at Playground. Visit playground.ca for details. Also brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They are driven to be different. Without further ado, let me bring in tonight from Global TV Montreal, Brian Wilde. How are you?
Tony?
Yeah.
Is this happening?
No, not yet.
But is it?
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. It's
is
happening.
some of it happening? Is a lot of it happening?
Let's not get too carried away here because, of course, still plenty of time, plenty of games left for the Montreal Canadiens in their season.
A little carried away?
I think we can. Why don't we do this? Let's bring up.
We get carried away.
Let's bring up the standings if we can. There you have it. Ottawa, once again, the first wild card spot. They have 77 points in 66 games. The Rangers have only 1 point more than the Canadiens, but they've played 2 more games. So the Canadiens, even with a tie tomorrow night, are going to go up to that second wild card spot, even with a tie. Let's hope they get a win. Let's hope they win in regulation. Once again, the Columbus Blue Jackets at 70 points, 1 point behind the Canadiens. They played 1 more game. The same record as the Detroit Red Wings, 70 points. They played 67. The Islanders, who the Canadiens will visit on Thursday night, have 68 points. They played the same amount of games as the Canadiens. If you think tomorrow night's game is going to be big for the Canadiens, what would you call Thursday night's game for the New York Islanders? Equally big. And the Boston Bruins lost in overtime tonight to the Buffalo Sabres. So the Bruins now have 68 points in 68 games. The Canadiens, there's not a lot of breathing room there, but there's plenty, there's reason to be optimistic, Brian.
There, 1, 2, 3, 6 teams, 4 points. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. 6 teams, 4 points. You know, I go back to, Tony, as we keep looking at those standings, I go back to the trading deadline where we talked about no one loaded up. And you can see it, right? Boston, Marchand gone. Islanders, Nelson. Wings got a goalie, big deal. Not going to be the deciding factor. Columbus didn't do anything. Montreal kept stand pat, but didn't do anything. Rangers didn't do anything. I tell you, I can't remember a trading deadline when, you had 6 teams vying for a playoff spot and 2 or 3 didn't at least try something. I mean, it was shocking that nobody tried something. And the sellers are to blame. They asked for too much. And so they ended up, keeping players they didn't need if they're going to miss the playoffs. And here we are. No one can pull away because nobody loaded up. And no one falls back either because no one loaded up. And so it promises to be an exciting finish. And Tony, like looking at those standings, the team with the inside track is the Montreal Canadiens.
No, you're absolutely right about that. At the same time, though, I want to specify that if we say that the New York Rangers didn't do anything, I mean, they had made obviously a couple of big deals where they brought in JT Miller, and it was made at the end of January. Okay, so the trade deadline was March 7th, and on January 31st, they acquired Eric Brandstrom and Jackson Dorrington and JT Miller. JT Miller centering their second line, so it's a pretty significant pickup there. So they made a few moves earlier in the season. They traded Capo Caco in December. They got Will Borgen, and he's playing on their team. They traded Trouba in December. They got Earl Vakanainen, and he's playing on their team.
Net positive or net negative, though? Overall. Net positive on Miller, but only slightly, right? Because Trouba, come on. That didn't seem like a net positive to me.
No. But
and what do you feel about Capo Caco?
JT Miller's the big one.
Net negative. But JT, definitely net positive there.
Yeah.
But overall, that was not a team that loaded up, which is the verb I'm using.
I hear you. Yeah. No, I definitely hear you. What a big one tomorrow night. The Canadiens are going to host the Ottawa Senators. Let's go back to their games, though, on Saturday night. Yeah, they do. They developed pretty good rivalry over the years, right? They played each other twice in the playoffs. The Canadiens won 1 series. Ottawa won 1 series. And these are 2 teams that were supposed to be in a rebuild. And whether they make it or they don't make it this year, can we say that both organizations have turned the corner and the rebuild is somewhat in the rearview mirror?
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. And like when they took a chance on Dylan Cousins, who was struggling so much in Buffalo, and that seems to be the best trade sometime, where a guy everybody knows has got talent. He's already put in a good season in the NHL, but something's gone wrong in the city that he's in. Alex Kovalev, for instance, like somebody might have said before he got to Montreal, what's left of that career? He got to the right city, loved the fan base, enjoyed the excitement. Ilya Kovalchuk, another guy, career seemed to be over, gets to the right fan base, loves playing in Montreal, loves the excitement, rejuvenated for a bit. So I think Cousins is really rejuvenated, and as a result, Ottawa looks really set, don't they? Jake Sanderson's coming to his own, which I think everybody expected considering when they watched him in college hockey. So they seem like they're done. I think the Canadiens, we got to see what Demidov can do. I think he's going to be amazing. So does everybody else. They need that second line center, but there are a lot of guys that have so much career in front of them. I mean, like who's on the downturn in the Canadiens? You know what I mean? Who's a stock chart that's gone like this and then now is going to, curve back down? Mike Matheson, maybe. David Savard, obviously, but I mean, what a young team with a career in front of them.
Yeah. By the way, we talked about what a big game it is for the Canadiens tomorrow night. It's going to be a huge game for the New York Rangers as well, who on one side will be happy that they're going to be playing the Calgary Flames, who are playing 2 games and 2 nights, travel included. On the other hand, they might be a little bit disappointed that the Flames are getting blown out tonight. They're down by a score of 6-1 with about 5 minutes in regulation, because obviously the Flames, these are some big games for them as well, and they might like to bounce back tomorrow. So the Rangers are in action tomorrow night. and they host the Calgary Flames. The Montreal Canadiens will host the Ottawa Senators. The Islanders will be in Pittsburgh. And if you take a look at Pittsburgh, I mean, they're out of it, but they could probably still say, they could try and make a case to say, you know what, we're still in it. So they're playing a huge game tomorrow night. The Red Wings are going to play in Washington versus the Capitals. That's never an easy game this year. So, you know, a lot of the teams that the Canadiens are battling for a playoff spot with are going to be playing some very difficult games tomorrow.
Are you able to call up that Tankathon strength of schedule, in fact, Tony, quickly? Because I always like to look at that. And at a certain point, the Canadiens have pretty much the easiest strength of schedule. It's come off a little bit. I think they're around 20-something. But a lot of their competition that is fighting with them for the final playoff spot has a very, very difficult schedule. I think Detroit might have like the hardest schedule or second hardest schedule.
Yeah.
Columbus is right up there in hardest. I can see you have it called up now. So instead of me guessing, you can give it to everybody. But the Canadiens are in pretty good shape.
I have it here in front of me. And that is, let me just see. The Detroit Red Wings, like you said, have the toughest schedule.
Yeah. Number one
left. Yeah. Toughest opponents. The Buffalo's next, Vancouver, Anaheim, New York Islanders, 5th toughest schedule. Columbus, 10th toughest schedule.
There you
the
go.
Rangers, 12th toughest schedule. The Canadiens, 17th.
17th. Okay, so they've played some easier competition, got it out of the way. So that 30th has gone to 17th. That can fluctuate from night to night when there's not much season left, a lot. But
Ottawa, by the way, 31st easiest schedule. So
they're in, right? Wouldn't you say they're in? I mean, there are 11 games over NHL 500. It would take, an absolute collapse.
So look,
they're in.
I think they're in. Like, if I were a betting guy, I would bet that they're in. But they have 2 games versus the Canadiens between now and the end of the year, and 3 games versus Columbus. 3. I took a look at the schedule yesterday. I think the 3 games are in like a 10-day span. Like, I don't think Columbus is going to win all 3 versus Ottawa. But I mean, like, if they do, like if Columbus wins all 3 versus Ottawa in regulation, I mean, then all of a sudden they're back. They're
back. Yeah. Sometimes when I get this excited, I want them to just play the games in 24 hours. I can't take it.
Yeah.
I just want the games to be played. Why do we have to wait so long between games, Tony? Why?
You know what really hurt the Columbus Blue Jackets here down the stretch was the injury to Monahan.
Yeah.
Like Monahan's been out. Monahan's been out for a while now, and that really hurt them because you know what? He gave them a lot of depth at center, and the Adam Fantilli's doing well, but can't do it by himself. And look, a lot of people still to this day, I don't know why, the Canadiens got a couple of firsts for Monahan. And if they would have had Monahan last year, they're not going to be able to pull off, to get Michael Hage in the draft. So a lot of people are still stuck on the whole. The Canadiens should have had Monahan. They would have been better.
Right, but, why are they doing that in terms of, Tony, you could have always gotten him back.
You could have always gotten him back, correct?
You did it once. You could have done it twice if you're really hungry to do it.
But, he's missed 26 games this year. So he's played 41. And he's missed 26. Last year, he was healthy. The year before that, he only played 25 games. The year before that, he played 65. And then, prior to that, of course, it's he's had his share of injuries in his career, and that one hurts. But anyway, let's talk about the Canadiens. It was a therapy day for Yoel Armia today. By the way, for the Ottawa Senators, it was a therapy day for Brady Tkachuk and Linus Ullmark.
Yeah, I think Brady's been carrying something since 4 Nations, and he's gotten through it, right?
Yeah. No, he definitely has.
Yeah. And so when they feel like they're in a pretty good position, I think Brady will rest a little before the playoffs start once they feel they've got this thing wrapped up as far as the playoff spot. So it begs the question then, those 10 days that they play Columbus 3 times, is that coming in March or April?
That's coming in April.
Yeah. So they might get, Brady Tkachuk in the same way that the Canadiens are benefiting from not getting the other Tkachuk against the Florida Panthers. Yeah, they play them 3 times.
Yeah, I have the Ottawa Senators schedule here. if I can bring it up. So the Senators play the Blue Jackets in Ottawa on Saturday, March 29th.
Okay, well, they definitely wouldn't have wrapped it up by then. It'll be still gutting it out.
Okay. Then they play in Ottawa again on Sunday, April 6th.
Still playing.
And in Columbus on Tuesday, April 8th.
I would say still playing for all three of them, 8th to 15th.
So like
mathematically, it takes a lot to actually, win that playoff spot.
3 games in a 10-day span. 3.
That's going to be fun. That's the best scenario for the Montreal Canadiens when they play each other. I mean, obviously, you hope it doesn't go to overtime because then it's a 3-point game.
Yeah.
But on a certain way, that there's no way they can both win. And if they're playing, not each other, like Rangers versus Wings, that kind of game, they both could win. So great scenario when they're playing each other. Great scenario.
All right. So the big news for a lot of radio stations today and a lot of TV networks was that Arbor Jackeye, right, slashed Michael Pezzetta while Pezzetta was on a short-sided game breakaway. And so as they went back the other way, Michael Pezzetta took a hack and went to slash Arbor Jackeye, whether he caught his hands or just a stick, I don't know. And then Jackeye went to take a shot at him, and then Pezzetta, going around the net, went to stick out his elbow on Jackeye, who took exception and then gave him a little bit of a shot back. And then they looked at each other and then whatever. And then about a minute or two later, Michael Pezzetta went up to him. They had some words. And then about a minute or two after that, he went up to him and put his arm around them, and everything's good. And Arbor Jackeye said to members of the media, I don't know. I didn't like the looks of Pez's mustache tonight, but earlier today. But you know what? It doesn't matter. We're probably going to go for supper tonight. So what does Pezzetta post on his Instagram account about an hour ago? Did you see this? There you go. Him and Jackeye taking in a nice meal. All right. I'm not so sure we have Brian. I think we have a technical difficulty here. And he's talking, but I don't hear him. So anyway, that's the story. Okay, so Brian, you there? Okay, let's fix Brian's problem. Let's get him back. If we can do that. Brian might be on mute. Brian, you there?
No.
Hello, Brian, you there? All right, okay, let's try and fix Brian's problem. And we'll see if we can get him back. All right. So, okay, we got Brian. Yeah. So Brian is going to the green room, I think. All right. Okay. The green room is our room where we fix all the technical difficulty problems. Okay. So he'll be back in a second. Once again, in case you're just joining us, the Columbus Blue Jackets, 46 shots on the New Jersey Devils, 46-20. But the Blue Jackets lost by a score of 2-1. Jake Allen with 45 saves, 23 of which came in period number 3. So Jake doing the Montreal Canadiens a big, big favor. Once again, Arbor Jackeye and Mike Pezzetta, this was a story today. I didn't make much of it because you know what? This stuff happens, right? And if you're Michael Pezzetta and you haven't played 20 games this year and you're kind of seeing that your career is on, it's on standby because, it's not like he's been progressing this year because he's not playing a lot of hockey. And yeah, he's practicing every day with NHL players, but it's kind of like just studying for an exam all the time. You study. That's fine, but you're not going to know how good you are until you actually take the exam or how ready you are. And he needs to take the exam, and he hasn't taken the exam all that often. So, Pezzetta not very happy, and, tensions flaring there at practice, but that's good. That means that guys are sharp, guys are ready, guys are hungry, guys are motivated. And this is a big one tomorrow night. Is it safe to say that this is the biggest game tomorrow night that the Montreal Canadiens have played since the Stanley Cup final in 2021? Is that fair to say? I'm trying to think of other games that have been more important over the past couple of years, and I can't think of any because, let's be honest, the Canadiens, 1 year were the worst team in hockey, And the other 2 years were like the 5th worst team in hockey. So that's what happens when you're in a rebuild. I mean, you're not very good and you don't play very much significant games. Mind you, some of you watching right now on YouTube or on Twitter are probably saying, hey, you know what? Some of those more important games are probably games that they absolutely had to lose to get a better draft pick. All right. RR says, what happened to Brian? I hope he's okay. He says, Brian will be just fine. We'll fix his problem. I have to tell you, in my personal experience, when I podcast, I'm not a fan of the AirPods. I'm just not. I don't know. The phone, the AirPods, the noise the Bluetooth, to this, to that, whatever. For whatever reason, I just go still with the wired headphones. And I do have some that are not wired, that are Bluetooth, that are actually very, very good. They're called Shocks. But AirPods, for whatever reason, I've seen them cause, several inconveniences over the years, whether it's with, just with anyone that's actually used them. I can't wait for Brian to come back because I want to talk about Patrick Laine. And if you're there and you have any questions on Patrick Laine.
Hello, sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
You know what? I was just saying, in my personal experience, the AirPods, there's just something with the AirPods. It just seems like
they just go in and out sometimes.
They just go in and out sometimes, and usually in and out is a very good thing. But when we're talking podcasting, and
yes, I'm not going to disagree with you there.
I wouldn't know I'm married. I would have known I'm married. All right, okay.
That's pretty funny, Tony. Sorry about that. I don't feel like I did anything. All of a sudden, everything was just going away.
Pardon me, Brian, for the joke, but I'm in a very good mood.
It's a good joke.
I'm smiling. Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of action in this house. My wife's usually in the mood every month that ends in Arch. So this is a good month. This is a good month. All right, okay.
The non-Y months are your open areas. All right, what were you talking about?
Well, so look, we can forget about Jack Guy and Pizzetta. Obviously, it's a non-issue. They went to have a good bite tonight. They went.
I see. Yes, that's where we were. They had a bite to eat together, which is smart. Okay. That's a smart way to tell the world that we're fine. That happens. You know what, Tony? That happens. Just to make a quick comment on it before we move along. Every time it does happen, everybody makes a big deal of it. They must hate each other. But I'll tell you what, the only history that I can remember where two guys actually hated each other so much that they had to do anything was just happened in Vancouver. Like what happened with Miller and Pedersen? I've never seen that before, where there was so much acrimony they had to trade a guy. I've never seen that before.
It was crazy. Hey, listen, not only did they have to trade JT Miller, it looked like he didn't want to play hockey again. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he goes to the Rangers and he says he's discovered his love for the game again and this and that and whatever. My God, how bad was it? And by the way.
And what was it about?
Elias Pettersson's on a burner too. I don't know if you had a chance to see this, but I think he's got like 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points in his last 4 games. So he's playing.
I'm not a huge fan of him. I'm not a huge fan of him. I don't think he's going to be a good playoff player through the years. He's a bit, as Terry Ann would say, soft. But we'll see. I could be wrong. But do you know what was behind that, Tony?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Crazy, a lot of talent, though. A lot of talent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Pettersson, a lot of talent. Yeah.
A lot of boards you got to go into in the playoffs.
Speaking of talent, I want to say something, right? Because today, I thought, you know what? I made a lot of sense with what I said on my radio show, on Le Forum, on BPM Sports. Weekdays between 9:50 a.m. to 11:50 a.m. to make it easier for you. Let me just say 10 to noon. And, I went to Patrick Laine's defense, which I've done on several occasions this year. By the way, I've also called him out for being a very, very lazy player and said always has been, always will be. Okay. Having said that, I don't know if I was wrong when I called him a lazy player, always has been, always will be. Maybe I should have worded it differently. Maybe I should say more often than not, he's nonchalant, or he might give you the impression that he's playing lazy hockey, or I could say that he struggles with consistency, or he tends to fall asleep at times. But that's about the worst thing that I've said about Patrick Laine this year is that lazy player always has been, always will be. I will say this, though. I will say this. And do my own Barry Horowitz from the WWF back in the day and pat myself on the back. I was happy the Montreal Canadiens made that move. I was happy they made that trade. I thought it was a trade that was worth making. At no point did I say trade Patrick Laine this year. At no point did I say trade Patrick Laine in the offseason. At no point did I say trade Patrick Laine next season. I'm saying that because once I defended him today and I made a case for him, my God, the messages I got saying, you said to trade him a couple of weeks ago. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. And by the way, if you find the clip of me saying that I would trade him and trade him right away, I'll give a nice sum of money to charity. Okay? I did not. And even though I didn't, I'll still give a nice sum of money to charity anyway, because we got Sammy's fundraiser coming up for families of SMA. Cure SMA, by the way, which is going to be on Saturday, April 5th. Agnello, do we have a brochure for that, by the way? Do we? Don't we? We don't? No, it's not part of the script, by the way, Brian. But anyway, it doesn't look like we do. But Sammy's, there's a fundraiser for Cure SMA, which is going to take place on Saturday, April 5th at Plaza Volare. Anyway, go to the Sick Podcast and go in there in the link that's there provided, and you'll find a way to buy tickets for the event. I think it's $225 a ticket. It's an amazing, amazing night. A table of 10 is $2,000. And I hope to see you there because I've been to about at least 10 of those parties. And Agnello and his family alone are responsible because of their fundraisers that they've had over the years for raising over $2 million for Cure SMA, which is pretty amazing, huh? But anyway, so I made my case for Patrick Laine today. Brian, when we, often when we talk about Laine, you hear he doesn't sacrifice himself for the team. He's not the ultimate team guy. I came across a stat on the web, and I don't know who it is that posted it. And I'm sorry, because if I knew, I would have given them credit. But I have like a chart. Brian, that David Savard has the most block shots on the Montreal Canadiens. He's got 151 block shots. He's 7th in the NHL in that category. If I were to tell you where Patrick Laine is for Montreal Canadiens forwards, block shots per 60 minutes played, where would you think he ranks in terms of about 15 forwards that have played for the Canadiens this season?
Last.
Let's bring it up. He's first.
No way.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Shots blocked per player per 60. Patrick Laine, 3.37 per 60.
Okay, so who would you guess be first? I would guess Brendan Gallagher or Jake Evans.
My guess before looking at this chart?
Yeah.
I would have said probably Dvorak, defensive player, him or Evans.
Yeah.
Him or Evans.
Yeah.
It's Laine at 337. Dvorak's next at 3.07. Slavkovsky at 3.06. Suzuki at 2.7. Surprisingly, Doc at 2.65 as well. Or I would have even guessed Armia. Like my guesses would have been Armia, Evans, Dvorak, maybe Josh Anderson. It's Patrick Laine.
That's a shocker, huh?
Now, I don't know. Is it that he's got the longest stick I think I've ever seen anyone play with in the National Hockey League, or he's in those shooting lanes, Brian. He's in those shooting lanes.
Sure, he is. I'm going to agree with that. But often as well, sadly, when you're super high in block shots, it means you're defending a lot. So that line has done a lot of defending. Yes, right.
That's true.
so that they're all three kind of up there is Correct. Not that surprising.
Yeah, that I understand. That's a good point for sure. But look, there's several stats that I think are interesting, right? Jake Gensel scored a goal on the power play tonight for Tampa Bay as they beat the Flyers by a score of 2-0. He is your power play goal leader this season, Jake Gensel. He and Draisaitl tied for 15.
Yeah.
Laine's next at 13.
Yeah. And he missed a lot of the season.
He's played 36 games.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brian, Patrick Laine is the Montreal Canadiens' third leading goal scorer.
Unstoppable in that.
He's got 4 goals less than Nick Suzuki. He's played 30 less games.
Yeah. And in that spot on the left side on the power play, everyone knows it's coming. The other goalie, the other team, the Canadiens themselves, everybody in the crowd, everybody watching on television, on other planets, if there's life on Mars, everyone knows that shot's coming from there, and it still goes in the net. He's unstoppable from there. It's insane. I've never seen anything like it with a play as predictable as that leads to that result.
So it's just all to say, it's not all bad for Patrik Laine. 4 goals less than Suzuki. He's played 30 games less. He's third in the National Hockey League for power play goals. By the way, only one of 5 players all time that have scored a minimum of 15 goals in a season to have over 81.3% of his goals actually scored on the power play.
Yeah.
I got an interesting stat about his 16 goals. Guess who's assisted on 12 of them?
Laine Hudson.
That would be correct.
Nice, soft, sweet passes on the power play every single time. He's opened up the ice by chucking and jiving left and right, and nobody knows where he's going, and then he slides it to Patrik every single time at the perfect release spot for Laine. Perfect release
Here's
spot.
something else. If Patrik Laine would have been healthy, so far of his 13 goals, if I'm not mistaken, Brian, I believe 10 of them have come at home. I could be wrong by a goal, but I'm going through them. I'm going through them in my head, and I think 10 of them of the 13 are at home, okay? Mm-hmm. Let's bring up a graphic of who scored the most home power play goals in a season in NHL history. It's Joe Nieuwendyk with 21. Tim Kerr had 20. Mike Bossy and Brett Hull had 19. Laine's pace this season would put him at 21 home power play goals. If he would have been healthy to start the season, chances are he would have been in the NHL record books at the end of the season.
Let's run it back next year.
Chances are, if he's not the Canadiens' leading goal scorer, he's their second leading goal scorer. As it stands, he's their third. And the Montreal Canadiens are probably, and I wouldn't even say probably, I would say if Patrik Laine was healthy to start the season, the Montreal Canadiens would have been in a playoff spot. I mean, they're 1 point out of a wild card without him, for 31 games or whatever it is.
Yeah.
In those 31 games, he's got 16 goals in 36. He would have played the other 31. Chances are he would have had 10 or 11 or 12. And maybe even these 16 would have been better because then he would have started the season and he probably would have been in better shape to,
Yeah, and I'll make the point I like to make for everyone about him overall is give him a center to play with, give him a chance to play more hockey in the offensive zone, and the liabilities defensively that he has will be, halved at least. So I think he's more valuable as a Montreal Canadien than he gets credit for just on the hockey he can play.
Yeah.
If he gets a guy that can carry the puck up and out and they can play more offensive hockey, then obviously he can play better. And I'm really looking forward to Demidov playing with Laine, because if you think Laine Hudson is a good playmaker, wait till Demidov comes. That guy's a playmaker too. And he can spot anybody. And if he spots Laine, it's going in the net.
Demidov, Hudson, and Nick Suzuki will be the 3 best playmakers on the Montreal Canadiens for the next 5 to 10 years. And I only said 5 because Suzuki will have 5 years left on this contract. And after that, he's a UFA, and you never know what happens, right?
Oh, boy. I can't see Nick leaving, though, eh?
Well, if you would hope not. I mean, he's the captain of this franchise, right?
Exactly.
And that's number 1. Number 2 is if they don't get it done in the next 5 years after this year, when his contract's going to come to an end, chances are they're not going to be too far.
Yeah.
To go far in the playoffs. So
that's right.
If you're here for the worst years, why wouldn't you want to be here for the best?
Exactly. And Nick's 25?
25, yes, I believe
25.
so.
25.
And if he's not 25, he's going to turn 25.
He just turned 26, yeah.
Let me just see.
I think he's still 25.
He is 25. He'll turn 26 August 10th.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So lot of hockey left in that guy. Lot of hockey, and he's so cerebral too that I think he'll be one of those guys that lasts a long time. You know, like a lot of people say, you start to get your antenna up a little bit at the age of 30 with forwards now, huh? But I mean, a lot of them go well beyond 30, but some of them start to fall apart at 30, especially the ones that are relying only on their skating ability. But he's such a clever player, man. He's so smart out there. He's so cerebral the way he plays the game. His vision, his understanding where the puck's going. I mean, he's so intelligent. I can't see him falling apart.
I was saying earlier today that of all the wow moments that we saw on Saturday night versus the Panthers, there were a lot of wow moments, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Laine's wrist shot, the goal on the power play, that was a wow moment, okay? Cole Caulfield scoring on a Saturday night. He's Mr. Saturday Night, by the way. I think he's got the second most goals in the National Hockey League on a Saturday night. Wow moment. Samuel Montembeault's glove save.
With 3 minutes left. Wow.
With 3 minutes left. I think it was on Reinhardt. Wow moment.
No, I don't think so.
Or is it Verhaeghe? Who was
Verhaeghe.
it?
I think it was Verhaeghe.
It was a wow moment. All right. The wave in the building was a wow moment, right? The ambiance was absolutely
and they're just
amazing.
getting going. The fans are just getting going, man.
Yeah.
If this turns into fighting for a playoff spot with 3 nights left, 2 nights left, 1 night left, it's going to be wild. And pretty much the whole whole team, save the guys that played. No, it was COVID. They didn't even get to enjoy that. So who has enjoyed the fans inside the building?
So I was saying
the Stanley Cup run was COVID run.
Yes,
so
but there were fans. There were fans in the arena at the end. I was at that game versus Tampa Bay, game 4.
Half, right, or something.
Maybe even less. I think there were about 4,000 or 5,000 fans or whatever.
Exactly.
It was,
so no one really got to enjoy that. The player's perspective as that was as wild as it probably got for most guys on Saturday night.
Yeah, no. It was. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was amazing. And listen, I thought it was amazing. And I was watching the game from home. I stayed home because CF Montreal were playing at 7:30 p.m. The Canadiens were playing at 7. So I said, you know what? Line up my 2 TVs, one side by side, and let me watch both games at the same time.
Good stuff.
Which, by the way, and my buddy Joe came over, and Joe gave me a call and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm watching the Canadiens game and I'm watching the CF Montreal game at the same time." And he said, "So you guys staying home?" And I said, "Yeah, you're staying home. My wife's at a birthday party." She says, "You know what? I'm coming over." And he came over with his son. He brought pizza and subs, and we had a great night. And I talked about the story earlier today. Yeah. But all of a sudden, Joe just got up and left at one point. Like when you go visit somebody, like you usually tell them.
Food was eaten. You
usually tell them, I'm going to stay until midnight, or I'm going to stay until 11, or 30 minutes before you leave, you're going to say, you know what? You look at your watch and you say, you know what? I'm going to get going. Probably another half an hour. I'm going to go. All of a sudden, Joe got up and just said, I got to go, and left. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I didn't say anything, so I know I didn't say anything to offend them. And I said, Joe, I understand. Like, where are you going? And he said, I got to go home. I said, I understand, but like, it's just, you just got up and he said, I got to go to the bathroom.
You don't have one there?
So I said, I got 2 in my house. And he says, no, I don't think you understand. I got to go to the bathroom in my house. I can't go in your house. And I said, Joe, what do you mean? Like, if you go to a restaurant, don't you use their bathroom? Or if you go, somewhere else, don't you use their bathroom? And you go on a plane, don't you use their bathroom? And he looked at me and he said, no, I don't.
Hope he lived close. Sounds like a terribly desperate moment, Tony. I thought you were going to tell me it was a month that ended in Arch.
He was about a 12-minute drive, 13-minute drive away, but he had to leave. Yeah, I called him today and I said to him, I said, listen.
Get home in time, Joe?
I still don't understand the whole, you couldn't go at my house type of thing. And he said, no, he told me what happened. He has a one of those toilet bidets at his house.
He likes to clean flush.
Just a clean flush, correct. Just washes everything. And obviously I didn't have that, so he had to go home. Anyway, I don't know if he's watching this right now while he's in the can, but this is a true story, by the way. Why
don't we put his photo up?
Oh my God! No, we're not gonna do that. But
why don't we tell everybody where he works, Tony?
But
where does Joe work?
He said to me that is, in his opinion, the toilet bidets are the number one invention ever. I don't know if they're the number one invention ever, but I'm
waiting for the segue here. Is this somehow moving to Bet365 somehow?
There's no segue. I mean, if somebody listening makes toilet bidets and they want to send over 2 for my house, this way Joe doesn't have to leave again, okay, I'll take it. We used to have one, but my wife found that the water that used to come out was cold. Anyway, all right, okay, I loved it. Let's get back to the Canadiens here. The one thing that really, out of all the wow moments on Saturday night, Brian, that pass from Suzuki to Alex Newhook on that goal that was disallowed for goalie interference on Brendan Gallagher, who, by the way, probably would have been any other Montreal Canadian player other than Brendan Gallagher. The goal probably would have said, right? They hate him. Yeah. They hate him like you can't believe.
They hate him. He never gets a call, ever.
Brian, that pass, it was Wayne Gretzky-like. Yeah. It was Wayne Gretzky-like.
Yeah. I'm so happy for Nick in terms of, he really has worked hard and he understands how he always slowed down in the last 20 games, and he was on a point per game pace for a couple of years there, and he just couldn't take it home, Like, he's clearly taken it home. Like, if he doesn't make 82 now, it's an absolute shock. And definitely the Canadiens didn't make the playoffs, because if there's one thing to fear, is that there's a one-line hockey team, and that line needs to keep going for 16 more games. And if they do, Nick's going to achieve his goal of point per game, and Cole's going to achieve his goal of 40 goals for the first time since 1994 in the Canadiens organization. That'll be huge.
Ricky Martin gets the post of the night, by the way. And Yellow, if we can give him some kind of prize or something, Ricky says this conversation has gone down the shitter. That's a good one. Thank you very much. All right, that's really a good one. But we're going to take it back up here. But, he's done one thing, Nick Suzuki, is he's erased all doubt that he's a number one centerman, even for his, to his biggest critics, if there are any. For a while, people weren't willing to say or weren't able to say that Nick Suzuki was a number one centerman. Brian,
not in this city.
He's erased all doubts. He's erased
not in this city, they say it. And he's tied for the league leading points with Leon Draisaitl since the Four Nations break.
And by the way, how many times do you want him to outplay Barkov this season?
Exactly. And how many times do you want him to outplay some of the best centers in all of hockey? When they went on that run at Christmas, he faced Braden Point in Tampa, Barkov in Florida, Jack Eichel in Vegas, Nathan McKinnon in Colorado, and came out smelling like a rose. Like, what more do you have to do to show the hockey world? And now he's going to be top 10 in points as well among centers in the NHL. Like, what more do you have to do to get a little respect? And I would say that is the theme this year for the Montreal Canadiens. You've got Laine Hutson with a career rookie campaign among defensemen ever.
Yeah.
He's going to pass Quinn Hughes easily for the best defenseman rookie this century. He's going to finish fourth in league history, which includes the 1980s. And right now he's a plus 400. And Macklin Celebrini is a minus 380 for the Calder. And I love Macklin Celebrini. Nice player, don't get me wrong. But in the 25 years this century of Calder trophies, you take his points that he's going to finish with this campaign, he will be 13th out of 25 in points for forwards. Now, points isn't the only thing, but for a forward, it's most of the things.
Yeah.
And if you want to say he's a great two-way player, well, he's also minus 27, which is 6 worths. But then again, you're probably going to say he's on a bad hockey team. Okay, I get it. But what I'm saying is 13th of 25 and the best ever, including, or best this century, including 4th best ever among defensemen in points. And it's the guy who's 13th out of 25 that's the heavy favorite. So there's not a lot of respect for what Laine Hutson is doing. There's never any respect for what Nick Suzuki is doing. And you can throw in Cole Caulfield, too, who didn't make the Four Nations team. And when you looked at that final, I think they could have really used Cole Caulfield instead of Chris Kreider, who looked like he was skating in molasses.
And by the way, just to add to some of the names that you threw out there of players that he outplayed,
Suzuki.
who Suzuki outplayed during that stretch. If memory serves me well, they came back. They played the Rangers. He outplayed Trocheck.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had played a game in Dallas. They had lost one versus Dallas at home, but they had won in Dallas. He outplayed Rupe Hintz, who I think was centering the number one line at that point, if it wasn't Wyatt Johnston. And so he had a couple of big ones. And remember, Brian, before they went,
McDavid,
before they went on that run, around December 16 or December 17, they had the back-to-back, the home and away versus the Detroit Red Wings. And he probably got the better of Dylan Larkin on a couple of occasions, too.
Which is really hard. That's a hell of a first line in Detroit.
Yeah.
I think there are 88 goals on that line. We talked last week about top lines in the league, and the Tampa one and Winnipeg one were 1 and 2. Detroit's really up there too. Like Larkin is having a hell of a campaign, and that is a really great line with Lucas Raymond and the little guy.
DeBrincat?
DeBrincat, yeah. DeBrincat. Yeah. Hell of a line.
The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Accident Insurance Solutions. You know, all insurance isn't created equal. You know where to find the right solution for you. Accident Insurance. Accident doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money, whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business. You can call them at 514-363-3636 or visit their website, www.accentassurance.com. Look behind me. Bittt, the Tibi, is in that fridge. They launched a new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer. Perfect for chilly winter days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 to 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It is ultra light and ultra refreshing. And, of course, Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They are driven to be different. All right, okay. So we talked about Nick Suzuki. And now let's play a couple of clips if we can, because Montreal Canadiens fans are schedule watching, taking a look at the schedule. You wonder if Canadiens players are doing it. I think we have Jake Evans on checking the standings.
Ton of fun. Even just checking standings, checking scores from the other nights. It's, fun to be a part of it. And, the Bell Center was a pretty special place here on Saturday. And, it's fun that we get to keep doing that.
Pretty special place on Saturday. Laine Hudson would agree. He talked about the atmosphere.
It's going to have playoff feel just like last game. And, I'm just excited and kind of just going to take it all in and do whatever I got to do to help the team.
All right, there you have it. Kent Hughes earlier this morning, Board of Governors meetings, and Eric Engels, by the way, Sportsnet.ca, who's usually a regular collaborator on Monday nights, is not with us tonight because he's there and he's covering those meetings. And thank you, Brian, for filling in tonight. We'll have Eric join us on a night where Brian usually joins us in return. So it's a little bit of a trade that way. But Kent Hughes saying that, out of all the ways he can try and sell it to an unrestricted free agent to come play in Montreal is basically the atmosphere. Playing in Montreal is different. When NHL players are polled and they're asked what their favorite arena to play in is, they say the Bell Center, and they've said the Bell Center for the most part every year for the last, I don't know how many years. And the atmosphere was, we talked about it, Brian, but it was a playoff game on Saturday. It was a playoff game.
Absolutely. And I'm heading to the Bell Center tomorrow to enjoy some of that atmosphere. And I really like that Jake Evans mentioned that he looks at the standings. I like that they're engaged. I hate it when they answer, "Oh no, we're just taking care of our own business." Because frankly, I never believe it. When anybody says that, I just think it's a bald-faced lie. Like, you got to know what's happening and how important it is. And so I love that they're totally engaged. I love that Nick was engaged when he had that conversation with Kent Hughes, saying, "Don't do it, man. It killed us when you did that before. It ruined the atmosphere when you lost all those players. We knew what your plan was, but it still destroyed everybody. Don't do it. We're going to prove to you that you shouldn't do it." And then they went out and proved it, and now they're still keeping going on that. They didn't rest on their laurels and said, "Hey, we made it to the trading deadline. All right, let's take the foot off the gas." The foot's still on the gas. The atmosphere at the Bell Center is amazing. They're checking the standings. I don't know. I just feel, like when I was on with Stu last week, about 10 days ago, I think it was, and you dropped your head because I said they were going to make the playoffs. Remember that? Because it seemed like I was arguing that they wouldn't.
Well, I didn't drop my head. You said they're at the playoffs. I thought the whole time Stu and I were saying that we didn't think they would, and we thought that you were headed that way. And then all of a sudden, because you were a little bit disappointed that they didn't go out and do anything on trade deadline day, and then we're like, when you said no, I think they're going to make the playoffs. We were like, what do you mean? But listen,
I just thought they could have tried to get a center, but I mean, it was obviously really hard to get one, right? I mean, that's why nobody got one.
What a difference a week makes, though, because I got to tell you that once again, they're in a good situation right now.
They're in a great situation.
Yeah.
Like they got a couple games ahead on the Rangers and only 1 point back. The only thing, and then now they're ahead of Columbus, and they've played one fewer game too. But here's the only thing that is a little bit discouraging: they don't have the regulation wins against anybody. They gotta they can't, if it's tied at the end of the year, like 92 each, they don't win. They're out. They gotta have one more point.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, the playoffs. Remember, there was a year where last year 95. Washington made it with 91, and the Canadiens.
And Montreal missed it with 95 one year.
96, I think.
Well, it was high. It was high.
I think
shocking.
I think they missed it with 96. It was unbelievable.
And the pace this year is low, eh? It's still at 89. 89 is making it right now, prorated, which is really low.
89 is making it right now?
Right now, yeah.
Wow.
Which is low. And usually you have somebody take off. And I go back to the point very early in this podcast, Tony, that no one loaded up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think Kent, at the end of it, just before the trading deadline, I think he said, hey, nobody's loading up. We're the hot team. I'm on Tankathon. We got the easy schedule. Let's go, boys. And here we are.
Are the Montreal Canadiens going to make the playoffs? If so, would you be willing to bet on them, not only to make the playoffs, but maybe to win a round or two, go all the way with Betway, get a free bet up to $200. If your first bet loses, scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account, redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Brian?
Question for you, sir. Are you cashing in on your Betway 365 money for 76.5 points, which was offered at the beginning of this year? Because I think that one's pretty safe to say they're going to beat.
Yes, they'll beat that.
Yeah. Remember, that was the line before the season started, 76.5.
Yeah, and
we were on this show going, that is way too low.
If you put $1 or $2 on that on Betway, your opportunity to cash in, because once again, it was way too low. And the Montreal Canadiens wanted to be in the mix in there. Brian, playoff fever in Montreal. There's 3,000 people watching right now between Facebook, Twitter, and
Is that
YouTube.
good?
3,000 is a pretty good number. I mean, I wish it would be 30,000.
Did it go down when we were talking about Joe?
No, it did not go down. We're talking about
Are you
Joe.
sure it didn't go down
but Joe,
at all?
No, but Joe got enough airtime today. We're not going to talk about him. And hopefully, once again, there's a couple of bidets coming my way because of it. Good ones, the high quality ones, by the way, not the ones that only spit out
bad bidets.
The cold water. Those really, really good.
I had no idea that you could regulate the bidet water.
Yeah,
but I don't want to take you back there. Let's
not go back. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a good 10 to 20 questions?
Okay.
And then we'll call it a night. Is that good?
Absolutely. I got nothing to do tonight.
We'll try and take some speed questions here. So let's go.
All right.
I keep saying that because I just drank 3 liters of water. Joe Dack says, Tony, a lot of names being mentioned to target as a potential 2C. Why is no one talking about Matt Barzal? He'd be perfect. I'll tell you why. Because Patrick Waugh's team just traded away Brock Nelson because he's 33 years old and he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Why would he want to trade a Matt Barzal or Horvat? History has shown us the teams that go far in the playoffs are a really good chance of winning the Stanley Cup, have at least 2 very good centermen. The Islanders have that.
Yeah.
I don't see the Islanders trading that away.
Yeah, and I think the question that he's asked that question because he's under the impression that the Islanders may be in a rebuild. And, moving Nelson indicated sort of like a wishy-washy, we don't know where we are sort of attitude. So kind of, but I'm going to agree with you that you can't tear down a guy you got under contract and is still very young. But if you were rebuilding completely, you might look at that.
They signed them to an 8-year deal a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
After this year, he's going to have 6 years left on his contract.
Oh,
that pays him $9.15 million per year.
Which isn't going to look brutal in 2 years.
He's a 27-year-old centerman. The Islanders are not trading away Matthew Barzal. I mean, I would be absolutely shocked. I think some of the things that are realistic, since someone's asking the question, if John Tavares goes UFA, that could be interesting. No?
Yeah, because what you're saying, Tony, is you see this next to centerman as the second line guy as a stopgap, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
John Tavares
until Michael Hage arrives.
John Tavares has 56 points in 60 games.
Yeah, he's still playing good hockey.
As a 34-year-old.
Yeah.
The year before he had 65 and 80. The year before he had 80 and 80. The year before he had 76 and 79. The year before he had 50 and 56. The year before he had 60 and 63. The year before he had 88 and 82. The year before he had 84 and 82. I mean, can you get more consistent in terms of point production in the last 15 years in the National Hockey League than John Tavares? I mean, yeah, I guess the answer is Sidney Crosby, but can you get more consistent than John Tavares? It's unbelievable. If that player would willing to a 3-year deal, and not a 5 or a 6, which most players usually want when they're hitting unrestricted free agency because it may be the final year of their contracts, that would be a very, very interesting player.
Yeah, but somebody's going to throw 5 years at him, and it's going to be too much. Because there's always somebody that does something you think is too much.
I'll tell you another player who's up there in age, who's also going to be an unrestricted free agent. Matt Duchene is 34 years old.
I love that one. I love that one. But clearly that's a guy that wants to stay where he is. Look at the money he took to stay where he is. The guy doesn't seem to care about money at all.
Well, he signed a 1-year deal.
Exactly.
There's low taxes in the state of Texas. And
but what was his AAV the year before? I don't know it exactly, but it was crazy low. It was crazy low, Tony.
Yeah. I'd have to look it up.
Maybe somebody can help us. I don't have the graphic in front of me, but maybe somebody can help us. But it was really, really low, just to keep where he wanted to be.
So he has signed 2 1-year deals at $3 million average.
Yeah.
2 years in a row.
Yeah.
2023 1-year deal, $3 million. 2024 1-year deal, $3 million.
I don't know if I've seen another guy who's willing to take that little money just to play where he wants to play.
Prior to that, his old contract was a 7-year deal that paid him $8 million a year on average.
And he could never find a place that he wanted to play. And he was frustrated, and he couldn't succeed, and he didn't do well, and now he's playing for peanuts, and he's overachieving like crazy.
Let's not forget, though, he's a very, very proud Canadian player.
Yeah.
He's from Ontario.
Yeah.
I'm sure that he knows a lot about the rich history of the Montreal Canadiens. You never know.
Yeah, and I think that'd be the best one. How old is he?
He just turned 34 in January.
34. So you're looking at 2 34-year-olds.
And keep in mind, we're talking about long-term, short-term. Here's a player who 2 years in a row has signed a 1-year deal.
So he would be more willing to sign a 3-year deal.
Or even
because
more
the way I see it is, I mean, unless they find a guy who's willing to go for 7, like a Sam Bennett or something like that. But even then, fans would say 7 for Sam is too. I tell you, you're going to have to overpay. And one of the clips that Eric got today when he talked to Kent Hughes, I don't know if you read his Sportsnet.ca article, was just outstanding. One of them was Kent, saying, we're going to overpay. We're ready to overpay. And he's never said that. But to get a second line center, he said, we're ready to overpay. So here it comes. I don't know who the guy's going to be, but they got a hole to fill.
Yeah.
They know what the hole is. They tried to fill it at the trading deadline. They couldn't make it happen. They know what the work is in the summer. They have the draft capital and prospects. They're going to overpay.
It's a pretty smart thing to say, though, because when other teams may be shopping their centerman, the first thing they're going to think about is Kent saying, we're going to overpay. Okay, let's call
Phone
Kent,
him.
right? I mean, they already know he needs a second-line centerman, but also Kent, obviously, he might be willing to part ways. Well, he's probably going to try and part ways with players that he probably wants to part ways with anyway. And it's saying, oh, my God, I'm paying a big price here. He's going to play a game of – they're card players.
Right.
Him and Jeff Gordon. Remember Jeff Gordon at the draft with Demidov and so many people thought that the way Jeff Gordon answered, he didn't like Demidov at all. Yeah, we met him, whatever. Speaks good English, impressive, whatever. And I was getting a bunch of text messages from my friends saying, "Oh my God,
are they crazy?
They're not drafting. They're not drafting Demidov, right? They're not drafting Demidov, and in the end, they ended up drafting Demidov. And I said to my buddies, I said, guys, we're in Vegas. He's a poker player. We should specify, by the way, that in terms of overpaying, he was talking about assets, right? He wasn't talking about we're going to give somebody that we think is worth $6 million, we're going to give him $10 million. He was talking about in terms of assets they have, right? They have 8,000 draft picks. They have I don't know how many prospects, and he's willing. Once again, Kent has always said for the longest time, guys, I only have 50 contracts. Yeah. When you take the 23 with the NHL team, and you take those 23 in Laval, well, that makes 46. And then all of a sudden, you give it a few more contracts. All of these draft picks cannot play here at the same time.
Yeah.
And so he's willing to overpay in terms of assets. Why not? Other questions? Ellen says, hey, Tony, did you hear that Friedman said Hughes and Gordon trying to get Demidov over if they make the playoffs?
Wow, I didn't hear that. Now, can I answer that one?
Yeah.
He's contracted to May 31.
To May 31, yeah.
Yeah. So when the KHL playoffs end, like if they want to be jerks, Rottenberg, they can be jerks if they feel like it.
But what I'm wondering is, can they get him over before the May 31st date? Because, listen.
Yeah, of course, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, because I think they have 7 games left in the regular season, so add 14 days. And then their playoffs are. And let's say they lose in the first round, does St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
He'd be done April 15. But that's why I'm saying they can still be jerks if they want to. He is contracted May 31. They can ask for, and he's a businessman, right? Like, I mean, this guy's Mr. Gazprom. He's not a hockey coach. He's a business guy. He's from Gazprom, which is their national gas service.
Correct.
So
Elliot says, quote, it sure seems like the Montreal Canadiens are hopeful it's going to work out. Obviously, they've done everything they can to make it that it's going to work out. I know several people who've gone to watch him play this year, and they say he's an absolute stud. He's as good as advertised. He understands why both the Canadiens and their fans are excited to have him. So,
well, we'll see how much money that costs.
Well, listen.
Because it's going to cost.
They went over all three of them for a reason. Kent, Bobrov, and Vinny Lecavalier. And it wasn't just so that they could talk to Demidov to see how he was doing. It was to talk to Rothenberg. It was to see, is there anything we can do here? They talked about
the tour of the arena. It's good PR for him.
Hopefully they brought some maple syrup.
Yeah.
It's usually a nice souvenir.
Well, that would be really exciting, obviously. I mean, you're now hoping for a pretty successful team in St. Pete to not win a second round matchup, because and obviously he's not leaving, if they're still in the playoffs, but the season is the playoffs start earlier there for sure. I think they'll start like late March. So, and each round will take, the usual 12 days.
Yeah.
So, that times out pretty well. If they don't go deep in the playoffs in Russia, for sure.
More questions. Over 3,000 people watching on all social media platforms. Gregory Debo, who sent over $5. Sean Couturier from the Flyers for 2 First and salary retained. Tavares is too slow for Laine, and Duchesne is happy in Dallas.
I like
what do you
Gregory.
think?
Good points. Gregory makes good points there. I like his points about Tavares and Laine and the way they would mix. And Duchesne is happy there, which we established when we talked. I'm going to answer there not so much in terms of Couturier, but in terms of the 2 first-rounders.
Couturier is nowhere near the player that he used to be.
Yeah,
nowhere.
Yeah, I'm going to answer
in the last 5 years. It's been all downhill.
Exactly. So I'm going to answer there in terms of the first round draft choices and Kent saying he's ready to overpay. And like you said, that doesn't mean money. It means the assets he'd have to give up. And I would answer to the right second line center, somewhere in the area of, hopefully you can get a young guy who's got a career ahead of him like Dylan Cousins.
Yeah.
I would answer yes to that. Yes, on those 2 first rounders. Calgary's going to look, they lost again tonight, right?
Yeah.
They may drop to like 11th. I mean, could you hope for more than that? Or
by
12th?
the way, I said let's make it 3 years. 3 years. It's been a decline.
Oh, on Couturier.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a decline for Couturier. Yeah.
Okay, so I would say yes to that. Yes to the 12th pick overall and I'm going to call it 17th pick overall because the Canadiens made the playoffs, not 29th because they made it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Just
so
yeah, I would do it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great comment from Greg.
So my buddy Davey has chimed in here, and he's actually sent me something that he said. Don't forget, in 2019. Gavrikov joined Columbus at the end of the season, played 2 games, including the playoffs, because the Blue Jackets reached a deal with Scott.
It can happen.
So it's happened before.
Throw some money their way. That's why I mentioned he's a Gazprom guy. He's a businessman. Make a business deal, right? He says the guy's leaving anyway. I might as well get some money. I know I'm not going to be able to intimidate him to signing for another season. He wants to come over here to North America. So get some money. These guys are oligarchs. That's what they do.
Could you imagine the Montreal Canadiens make the playoffs?
I can.
All right. And let's just say they play Washington, whatever. Anyway, and Demidov shows up.
Stop it, Tony.
If Demidov shows up.
Too much excitement.
And people find out where he's arriving, they're going to show up to the airport.
Oh, it'll be Didier Drogba.
It'll be Drogba all over again.
It'll be Drogba all over again. And it'll be like, welcome to North America. And it'll be a situation at the airport where they're crawling up the poles like they did at Trudeau Airport when Drogba arrived.
Mind you, chances are it's going to be a private plane. It's probably going to land in St. Hubert. You probably won't be able to do that.
Don't ruin the fun, Tony.
Yeah, but
don't ruin the fun. Do you remember when Drogba came?
Yeah, I remember.
If he's coming just before game 1, he's getting a couple of practices in for the playoffs. It's going to be wild.
Do I remember when Drogba arrived? Of course I remember. It's the last time the owner spent money on a player here. All right, okay.
But
well, I mean, it is what it is. Okay, more questions. Huang Tran, do you think Beck or Roy will make the team next year? I don't think there's room.
Okay.
Yeah, Owen Beck will be on the team next year. Yeah, they'll listen. We just talked about assets. One of them's probably going to be in the deal. Like when they go out and make a second line, when they want to try and get a second line centerman, one of those players is probably going to be in the deal. Because if you're another team, and you Canadiens call you for a trade. We know that chances are the Canadiens are not trading. They're not trading Suzuki. They're not trading Caulfield. They're not trading Slavkovsky. They're not trading Laine Hudson. Chances are they're not trading Kaden Gooley either, right? And they're not going to trade Jacob Fowler, all right? So who's the other team going to ask for? You look in Laval, there's Beck, there's Roy, there's Farrell, there's Mailloux, there's Reinbacher. Chances are a forward's going to go. Chances are a defenseman's going to go. And chances are a pick is going to go. That's probably what's going to.
And if you're Kent Hughes, Tony, this is exactly what you're trying to do. You're trying to trade away a prospect as soon as you have evaluated that prospect has hit his ceiling, because that's exactly what they did with Justin Barron. They went, whoa, I think this is all Justin has, and he has no more. And before everybody else realizes this, we need to get something for him. So who do you think fits the bill that I've just said? I don't think we've seen Owen Beck's ceiling. Yeah. I wouldn't trade him. I don't think we've seen Oliver Kapanen's ceiling. I wouldn't trade him.
I know you're high on Engstrom, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's dealt.
But I wasn't going to go there. I was going to go with instead who has hit their ceiling. Has Joshua Roy hit his ceiling?
Joshua Roy lacks
speed.
Yes, but you can make up with that with hockey smarts. But, you know, he lacks grit and fire in his belly.
Has Logan Mailloux hit his ceiling?
I think Logan Mailloux got a problem that's holding him back.
And I
think he doesn't have NHL reads yet.
He doesn't think the game fast enough.
I don't think he doesn't think the game fast enough. And I think he's got something that a lot of very athletic, strong athletic players have. They get by on their athleticism for so long and they're not exercising their hockey brain. And Laine Hudson has something that Logan Mailloux doesn't have, in that he's got like the updated software up there, and it's like the best software that you can have. And exactly. Logan Mailloux doesn't have that. And it's not to say that he can get it, but when you rely once again on other stuff and you don't rely on that, it's hard to get that up to speed.
Right.
You know, to the same point that someone who's never, you know, who's always had to rely on his hockey brain to get to where he is. And
right.
And you know what? I think that's the edge that Reinbacher has on Mailloux. I think Reinbacher, the processor, is a faster processor.
Exactly. And therefore, Reinbacher isn't even close to hitting his ceiling. So, you know, in evaluating, Ken Hughes says, I got to be the first to evaluate that the guys have hit their ceiling. So those are the guys I'm going to predict are the ones that are traded. Not the ones where you're like, it's still a mystery how good this guy can be. Because Kapanen, it's a mystery. Like, I mean, it's a point per game player. It's a low-scoring league in Sweden. It's phenomenal. There only are 3 point per game players in the entire league. He's one of them. Beck, we're not even close. Reinbacher, we're not even close to knowing. Demidov, obviously not even close. Fowler, obviously not even close. So, yeah, it's Mailloux. It's Joshua Roy, who have stagnated for over a year, if not 2.
Joshua Roy's got a lot of talent, and my message to him is, Joshua, don't have any regrets in life, man. Don't look back one day and say, you know what? I should have worked harder.
Yeah.
I should have tried more. I should have played with more grit, more determination, because that'll be all the difference in the world. We know he's got the talent, but right now, his talent, it's not working at the National Hockey League level, and maybe one day it will. But when your talent is not working, you got to be able to do the other things. Remember Guy Carbonneau? After that loss in Detroit? Maintenant, là, notre talent marche pas. Faut travailler.
Yeah. Huh? You know, and keep going on, if I could, just on this, in kind of shocking ways.
But you remember, Luc Gélina?
Yeah.
Comment tu peux sortir de ça?
Yeah, work
hard. Faut travailler, je t'ai dit, là.
Exactly.
Faut pas embarquer sa patinoire, là. Kirk Muller peut pas embarquer sa patinoire, là. C'est ça que vous voulez entendre, là? Je quand
Let me continue,
qu'il ne travaillera pas dans la Ligue nationale, il ne gagnera pas beaucoup de matchs dans la Ligue nationale. Fini, là. He walks away, patting. He's like, Pat's in shock. Like, he's just like, what was that?
Exactly.
That's amazing.
You know, to continue on that train, like, I don't think they know Tuck's ceiling. And I don't think they know young Jack-Eye Florian's ceiling either. The guy's just, you know, he continues to improve. So, like, those, believe it or not, wouldn't be, like, even though you might say to yourself, well, that's like a lower level prospect, right? But not really, because you don't know how great they could be. Like, Florian Jack-Eye might be an 11th, 12th forward that plays a complete fourth line game that scares the shit out of people. And that's what you need. So
I don't think he makes the Montreal Canadiens next year.
Well, not next year, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying you don't know his ceiling yet.
He's in the plans.
Yeah, you don't know his ceiling.
That's a player that they would not want to trade away, because you know what? In a couple of years from now, they're going to have an energy line, and chances are Florian Jack will be on it. I'm not sure Tuck will be. Maybe he will be. Don't count out Thorpe, by the way. Thorpe going forward.
Tyler
Don't
Thorpe,
count him out. Yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to answer that question that the guy asked. I think that Beck will definitely be on the team next year, and I think Kapanen will definitely be on the team next year, and I'm not sure about Roy. Because there is room for new guys because, I mean, is Armia going to be signed again? Is Dvorak going to be signed again? I mean, there's room. There's room. There are going to be 4 guys fighting for the third line center position. Beck, Newhook, Dak, and Kapanen. And one of them is going to win it, and the others are going to go on the wing.
Back to a couple of more questions. Dawson Hallahan, hear me out. Do Habs ever consider moving Dobish at the end of the season, get some assets to trade for an incredible second-line center? Listen, I don't think Dobish has that kind of trade value right now. So, no, I don't think he's got that kind of I think Dobish is worth more to the Habs than he would be to another team if they would trade him. Because I don't think he's got a lot of trade value, and I think he's going to be the number 2 goalie next year because I don't think it's going to be Jacob Fowler. Jacob Fowler has to play in Laval. He has to.
Yeah, but what happens to Primo after that answer?
Fowler and Primo and Laval?
Okay, but Fowler's got to get in 55 games. So you've basically given up on Primo. Haven't you? What a great answer.
But Fowler will get in 55 games right away year 1.
He has to. Yeah. Oh, he has to. He's not going to leave Boston to play 25 behind Primo.
By the way, they were eliminated, for those who weren't aware. Boston College,
3-1. Against Northeastern. Big shock. But I mean, they're still going to be the number 1 ranked team.
I'm taking a look at how many games Primo played in Laval, the most amount of starts that he had. In 2023, he had 41 starts.
Right.
Primo did. 41 starts in 2023.
Well, I mean, it's a college schedule where he's playing now in Boston, right? So
Dobish
he's going to play 45, right?
Dobish had 51 starts in 23-24. Yeah, 50.
And Fowler played 45 this year, and he's got the Nationals coming up, so he's going to finish with 50, and I'm thinking he'd want 45, 50 next year. But Primo, I don't know. I mean, he's the NHL goalie. So, but you have to make a decision on him because Dobish has won the backup job. I mean, he's 9-1-3 last I looked. That's a good number. That's a real good number.
Yeah.
And Montebo's 9-2-8 since 4 Nations. 9-2-8, third best in hockey.
Listen, Montebo impresses me because his character, I think, is very, very high.
Yeah.
And it happens, right? You see it with a lot of players that they get put on waivers and a team gives up on them. And Florida, mind you, had said that they didn't want to put Montembeault on waivers, but they had to because they had a couple of big goalies in their contract. And they put him on waivers and the Canadiens pick him up. He arrives in Montreal. Everyone says, oh, Jake Allen. He wins his battle with Jake Allen. Caden Primo. He wins his battle with Caden Primo. Dobish comes in 5-0-1. For now, he's won his battle with Dobish, represented Canada at the World Championships. He won his battle with other goalies. He was not the starting goalie for Canada at the 4 Nations face-off, but he did beat out other goaltenders like Marc-Andre Fleury, like Logan Thompson. The list goes on and on. The Darcy Kemper. He just keeps on winning the battles. He's a fighter.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he has that intangible. He's got that go F yourself when people don't believe in him. And you look at the history of the Montreal Canadiens this century, you've got Carey Price was the same way. As soon as somebody didn't believe in him or somebody, like even if they booed him, he was like, chill, right? It came out of it. He wasn't worried one bit. He told Montreal to chill.
Yeah.
Like that's some huevos. And Montembeault's got the same huevos and Dobish has the same eggs. What the eggs means here, right? I don't want to say the other.
Yes.
Yeah. But the one guy that didn't seem to have the eggs is now back in Laval, right?
He parla, yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir.
All right.
And the guy who didn't seem to have the eggs has the eggs for Laval, but has not shown the eggs yet in the NHL, and that's Primo. And if you watch Fowler, I had a chance to watch him. There was this one game, a guy came into his crease and he did not give a crap if he was going to get kicked out, but you get the hell out of my crease. And he blockered that dude in the head and he got kicked out of the game. And I know everybody's going to be like, well, you can't, have a temper like that and kicked out of the game. Well, I'm sorry. You can. Because if you set that standard, no one will ever forget it. And it's important to set that standard. Like Arbor did it too. He set that standard where he kind of showed a crazy side, and no one ever forgets when you show that crazy side. It's with you forever. And that's a good thing.
Over 3,200 watching now, Brian, on Twitter, Facebook.
Nice. We're picking
YouTube.
Up steam, even at 11:20.
Even at 11:20. But I think we're going to a couple of more questions if we can.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah, do it.
Will Arbor challenge Brady tomorrow?
Oh, I'd love to see it.
I think the only way they fight
is if it's 5-1.
If either team is up by 3 goals.
Yeah.
What
about before the game even starts? Brady likes that.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to do that. Not that he's scared of, but he's banged up. He's not 100%. Therapy day for him today.
Were you about to say not that he's scared of Arbor? Were you about to say that?
Well, he's not scared of Arbor, Jack guy.
Oh, you don't think so?
Brady Tkachuk's not scared of anybody.
Oh, I think he's scared of him.
No, Brady Tkachuk's not scared of anybody.
I think he's scared of him. Yeah.
Brady Tkachuk is a silent assassin.
Who did Brady fight for the United States against Canada there? Who did he take on, Brady?
Sam Bennett. Yeah.
Was it Sam Bennett or it wasn't the little fella in Tampa?
No, little fellow in Tampa took on his brother. Hagel.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Yeah, because Matthew wasn't fighting Sam Bennett, his teammate in Florida with the Panthers.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
That he fights Sam Bennett and then Matthew's like cheering him on when he gets to the penalty box and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You beat up my teammate. Fantastic.
Matthew Tkachuk in that fight with Hagel.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he hurt his ankle.
Was it really?
Yeah. And that's what I've.
And do you think Brady maybe got injured in his fight too?
I don't know, but I think what I heard at the time was because there was all kinds of slow motion showing it, replays and stuff like that. I think he hurt his ankle on that play, and then in that final game versus Canada on that Thursday night in the final, he only played 6.5 minutes, and Mike Sullivan made Kyle Connor a healthy scratch in that game.
Bad decision.
And Matthew Tkachuk only played 6.5 minutes. Bad decision.
Two bad decisions. And a third one, Cole Caulfield for Molasses Chris Kreider. So 3 bad decisions.
Yeah.
One by Bill Guerin as well. So, and who won that one? Oh, yeah, Canada, our nation.
Stewart says Stars can't re-sign Duchesne even at $3 million. They're strapped. We know that there was a lot of contracts that went around. Duchesne was very close to signing here once 5 years ago. I agree. I think he's a perfect target. At the same time, they're going to make there's a couple of players that are going to walk in their salaries too. Jamie Benn's going to walk. Seguin's going to walk. Cap is going up.
I was under the impression no one was going to be with the cap going up. I was under the impression no one will be strapped.
Yeah.
With the cap going up as much as it is.
It's supposed to be going up, like you said, over the next couple of seasons significantly, but we'll have to wait and see because they may have revised. Last question of your night. Last one. Gregory again. Beck, Doc, Newhook. Which one is the 3C next year? We're running out of spots in the bottom 6. Dvorak and Armia are the open spots next season. Although I've seen flashes from Newhook since he's been at center, and he's pretty comfortable. And there's something that I like. The one thing that I like about Newhook at center is he carries the puck with a lot more assertiveness, and he gains a lot more speed through the neutral zone. In the end, I think he's going to be a better winger. In the end, I don't think clearly he's good enough in the faceoff circle. He was 1 out of 7 on the weekend for I don't know what that is. I think it was 14% or whatever it was. It's not good enough. And Brian, Kirby Doc has not shown me that he has the work ethic, the discipline, the commitment, or the IQ, or the faceoff acumen to be a centerman in the National Hockey League. Now, without those things, you could probably be a 3C because you definitely can't be a 2C. Right. But I wouldn't be surprised when all is said and done that Doc and Newhook are wingers. And you know what? I think Jake Evans will be – so Suzuki will be 1.
Right.
Evans will be 1. 2. Evans will be 1.
Yeah.
Beck or Kapanen will be the other.
Yeah.
And another will be acquired for the 2-hole. That's it. That's how I see it.
That's it. Yep, me too. Me too. And imagine this third line then. You got Mystery Man as the 2C. Let's just say Hughes is going to get that done.
And
the third line is Dak, Newhook, and Kapanen.
Well, that's why I wouldn't be surprised if Armia walks, though. Because if they make Armia walk and Dvorak,
I think they both walk.
You bring in Beck and Kapanen, and one of the two will end up playing the wing.
That's right.
And they can both play the wing on a line with Evans and Heineman. What I'm saying is,
that's right.
On some nights, I think I could see Beck being that guy, and other nights, I think I could see Kapanen being that guy.
That's right. And it could be that fluid. So the second line, obviously, is Laine, Demidov, and Mystery Man. The third line, then, on the wings, Newhook and Dak, and the centerman is either Kapanen or Beck. And I'm going to say it's Kapanen. I think he's got the most complete game. He was the guy that won the job out of camp as well before he went to Timrah. And then the fourth line has Beck on one wing, Evans the center, and who do I have there on the other side? Gallagher.
Yeah.
That's a hockey team.
So my buddy Davey, who weighed in before,
is it not?
Yeah, my buddy Davey, who weighed in before, since he sent me that little quote on Gavrikov, and I'm very much appreciate that. I'll make Davey say the last word here. So Davey says that the guy that the Montreal Canadiens should target is Mason McTavish. Now I'll say this because I've heard but I've heard his name a lot. Okay, I've heard his name a lot. Anaheim drafted him 3rd overall in 2021. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the Anaheim Ducks, like the Montreal Canadiens, are top 5 in the prospect pool. That's how I see
Everyone
it. Okay?
agrees. Everyone agrees.
I think that Anaheim, when the Montreal Canadiens 4 or 5 years down the line are a team that can make it far in the East, I think Anaheim can make it far in the West. Okay. Right. Mason McTavish is finishing off his entry-level deal, okay? Mm-hmm. The Anaheim Ducks are going to sign Mason McTavish to a very, very long-term deal, and they're going to go with a 1-2 punch at center of Mason McTavish and Leo Carlson. I would be shocked if Anaheim would want to trade Mason McTavish. Absolutely shocked.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there are a lot of dream guys, but they're not coming. Like McTavish is one of them. But they're, like your dream. Like we all have dreams. I got dreams. Yeah. I got Sidney Crosby coming. That's my dream. He comes back to wear the Canadiens jersey when he was a kid. Dad loved him, and it's not happening.
Yeah.
It would have happened in March if it was going to happen at the trading deadline.
But you know what?
So throw it out the window.
Sidney Crosby.
That's my dream.
I have Sidney Crosby for me. That in my lifetime that I've watched, and I've said this before, I have Gretzky, Lemieux, and Crosby. All right, but I can understand if somebody says, "Oh, Crosby, maybe not 3, maybe 4, maybe Jagger before him, or this or that, or whatever," and all that stuff. He's top 5, okay? Yeah. But for me, if you're a Canadiens fan, Crosby's not even the dream anymore. Like he's obviously great, and he could be a great influence on those players. But and obviously, he's still got great hockey left in him for the next 2 years. But even at that, I think if you're a Canadiens fan, don't look for someone who's going to give you 2 great years of hockey. Look for someone who can give you the next 6 or 7 great years of hockey. And that's what you have to try and identify. And that's why.
So you're not looking at stopgap to Michael Hage then?
No, because we still don't know if Michael Hage. We're hoping that Michael Hage is going to be that second line centerman, but we don't know that it will be.
I'm getting pretty confident there. Freshman year, point per game is a 95% lock. Draft +1.
Yeah.
From the NCAA. It's like a lock. It's nearly a lock that player becomes an excellent National Hockey League player. If Michael Hage at this point doesn't, it's more bizarre than an expectation that you think it's like some upside that you can't believe in.
So once again, like I believe that Michael Hage will be a good second line centerman in the National Hockey League. If I had to bet on it, I would. But
3 years out.
if he comes into the National Hockey League in 2 years, it'll take him probably another 2 or 3 before he's actually comfortable. He's able to get his game. So now all of a sudden that makes 5 years. So if you're a Canadiens fan, if you can get a guy that could be your second line centerman for the next 5 years, I think that's what you're looking at. And someone just put on Twitter here or on YouTube, hold on a second, Crosby has a good 4 years or something like that. No, he doesn't.
Well, he's 38.
I would be shocked. Sidney Crosby has 2 years left on his contract after this year. Once those 2 years are up, I'd be willing to bet he's going to retire.
At 40, maybe. Yeah. Hey, here's one for you.
Yeah.
What about Nazem Kadri?
It's good.
Won a cup.
Yeah.
Good second line center, good 200-foot game.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I was hoping when I kind of tossed Kadri around in my head in terms of a 2C, I was hoping that Kadri would fall apart a little bit more. You know, I thought this was going to be, but, you know, Wolf got in the way of where I thought Calgary was going to be this year.
Imagine once again.
And they're not selling.
Imagine John Tavares. A Toronto boy
John Tavares,
who grew up a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, the pitcher
coming,
with the Leafs and this and that. Imagine if he's unable to get it done with the Leafs and the Leafs don't want to bring him back and he comes here as a Mississauga boy, he signs with the Canadiens and he ends up sticking it to the Leafs in the playoffs. Wouldn't that be amazing? Could you imagine John Tavares winning the Stanley Cup with the Montreal Canadiens? We would have that over Toronto because right now we got nothing over Toronto.
You know, my dream though is I think the perfect
they got
scenario.
A stadium, we got no stadium. They got a basketball team, we got no basketball team. They got a baseball team, we got no baseball team. You know, they got the high rises, they got the companies, they got the big bucks, they got the good jobs, they got the head offices. We don't have it. Maybe one day they might even take our Grand Prix from us. At this point, I want John Tavares.
I was thinking of taking in some baseball games there when the Phillies visited, but I couldn't find a room that was half decent for under $300 a night. So they also got that. The dream for me and for Kent Hughes is that he tries a Kirby Dach type move and it works.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to do, right?
Yeah.
That he takes a reclamation project. And I think Dylan Cousins was a big chance and he didn't make it happen.
Someone just said, it's let me see who it is. It's Steven on YouTube Live. He says, Marner, not Tavares. I'd take Mitch Marner on my team any day of the week and twice on Sunday. But obviously, the Montreal Canadiens need to fill the second line center role. I mean, that's obviously what they need. And but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Mitch Marner and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Once again, before we break away, why don't we show the updated standings? Let's show it. The Ottawa Senators have the first wild card spot. They have 77 points. The Rangers, second wild card spot, 72 points. They played 68 games. The Canadiens, 1 point behind the Rangers. They got 2 games in hand. Blue Jackets have 1 point less than the Canadiens. They've played a game more than the Canadiens. The same record goes for the Detroit Red Wings with 1 point less than the Canadiens, who played a game more. The Islanders have 3 points less than the Canadiens, and they played the same amount of games. And the Bruins have 3 points less than the Canadiens, and they've played 2 more games. It looks like, they're trying to reset instead of rebuild, but it could be that, the beautiful run the Boston Bruins had that brought them to 3 Stanley Cup finals with 1 cup win, it could be over. But then again, stranger things have happened. Listen.
And who do you got tomorrow? You got Pierre McGuire tomorrow?
We thought that Washington's rebuild, we thought that Washington's run was over as well. They did a reset on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
They did a reset on the fly, and they are very competitive. They did a really good job. Yeah,
it's 34, but I know you want to get going. But let's take 1
minute. No. I'm good.
Let's talk about Washington's rebuild for 1 second. Yeah. They were very weak at the center position. They acquired their entire center unit over a couple of years. Strong, beautiful acquisition. They gave up almost nothing. Eller, beautiful acquisition. They gave up almost nothing. Pierre Dubois, who fell apart in LA and thought was worth nothing. He's playing fantastic. They built their entire middle and gave up almost nothing. It can be done.
Yeah.
The Canadians can find a center. And that's what Hughes is trying to do. He's trying to do Strome. That's what he's trying to do. High draft pick. I think he went 3rd overall. Hadn't found his game yet. Just like Bennett was the same thing. Taken away, goes to Florida from Calgary for, again, almost nothing. It can be done. And it's everybody said, well, who's it going to be, Brian? And you never know until it happens, right? You just never know.
Yeah.
He tried it with Doc. It didn't come through. I think he wants to do it again. He worked hard for Cousins, didn't come through, but I swear to God, that dude can get it done. I'm a huge believer. And as soon as they get that, they got a hell of a roster, man. We just did the 4 lines, and Gallagher's on the 4th line with a young kid with a ton of promise.
I got to tell you, should the Montreal Canadiens get into the playoffs, and let's just say they would draw Washington, I would not be uncomfortable with that matchup. The only thing
Can we get Halak back for that series?
The only thing I don't like about it is that the Capitals are big and they play a heavy game. They're a big team. But
remember the last time they played each other, the Canadiens were leading with about 10 minutes left in that game before they ran out of gas at the Bell Center.
Other than that, it's going to be a battle of Logan Thompson versus Samuel Montembeault.
Mm-hmm.
A battle of John Carlson versus Laine Hudson.
Mm-hmm. They're real good down the middle.
Minutes of Rasmus Sandin versus Mike Matheson. Jacob Chychrun on one team and Caden Gooley on the other. Down the middle, they'll have Dylan Strome, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Lars Eller, and Nick Dowd. The Montreal Canadiens will have Nick Suzuki,
goal scorer in the history of the game, on their side.
Jake Evans, Christian Dvorak, and Alex Newhook. They're going to have a goal scorer and a lethal shot on the power play and Alex Ovechkin. The Canadiens will have Patrick Laine. They're going to have Tom Wilson do his thing, and the Canadiens are going to hope that a guy like and they'll have protests and Connor McMichael, and the Canadiens will hope that guys like Slavkovsky and Josh Anderson bring that kind of physicality to the table as well. Key goal scorer in Cole Caulfield. I don't know. Carberry versus Marty St. Louis. I would not be uncomfortable with that.
I can't wait. Oh, what about Demidov arrives too?
Bah, if Demidov arrives, Brian, the Canadiens at 4.
In 3, Tony, in 3.
On that note, hey, thank you everyone for watching tonight. This was a lot of fun. And look, we're about 33 or 3,400 tonight. Can you imagine tomorrow night?
If they win, you and Pierre, it's going to be insane.
Well, I think if they lose, there's still going to be a lot of people. But yeah, I think if they win.
Oh, you know how it is. The more wins, the better.
If the Canadiens beat the Ottawa Senators tomorrow night, I think tomorrow night.
And Arbor beats the crap out of somebody.
If the Canadiens beat the Senators tomorrow night, I think tomorrow night we will have the night where we'll have the most amount of people watching the Sick Podcast on one given night.
Nice.
If the Canadiens beat the Ottawa Senators tomorrow night. So I'm hoping that's going to happen. But you know that Ottawa, they remember what Montreal did to them a couple of weeks back in Ottawa, though, eh?
Yeah.
Coming out of the Four Nations face-off.
Lots of wins, yeah.
But then again, Florida remembered what the Canadiens did to them back on December the 28th as well. And the Canadiens still beat Florida on the weekend. Hey, listen, the game is played on the ice. The game is different. Every game has its story. And this is why I love hockey over soap operas, because you know, every hockey game is a different story. You watch soap operas and you know that Stefano Demera is not dead and that at one point he will come back. And
only thing better, Tony?
Hey?
Months that end in Arch.
Months that end in Arch. And then on that note, now you probably know why I've been saying, okay, we're probably going to wrap this up for the last half an hour, Brian. Yeah, I wish.
All right, good night, my friend.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Special thanks to Brian Wilde from Global TV Montreal. Special thanks to all of our sponsors as well. Betway is one. Playground is another. Accent Insurance Solutions is another. Energy Transportation Group and Bittt Tibi. If you like the podcast tonight, leave us a 5-star review. It's our way of feeling the love. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. Who's going to join me at 10 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night? Pierre Maguire and Maxime Lapierre. See you then.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaBita.tb. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.